Alright, I wanted to make a more in-depth video for the guys that were asking about the AFR gauge. So right now I'm basically soldering the new connections. So I went through and found the right wires in the up by the ignition that basically powers it on to 12 volts when you turn the key on, because that's what I really want to do, is do that. So right now I'm just soldering up my connections here, just so I have some good connections. I actually use those like tap ones, so it's like these guys right here. But what I did is I soldered them on. They were just the easy way for I could have a plug. So right now I'm just flexing the wire up a little bit. Get my solder right here. Doing this one-handed, so bear with me. Don't forget to put your heat shrink on there first. So yeah, once I get this all soldered up, I'll slip that heat shrink on there, and it looks good. Nothing crazy, it's just okay. So now once that's good, I'll explain to you kind of what I got going on here. So this one is the negative and I have the positive. So I decided to keep the plug. The issue that I was having is it was just such a pain in the butt to plug this plug in and out, and I had it like hanging back down here. It was just a pain in the butt, so I didn't really like it. Anyways, this fuse right here is I think it's a 5 amp fuse, even though the AFR gauge, I think it pulses like 1 point something, or yeah, 1 point something. Maybe it might be a 3 amp. I gotta check it. Anyways, basically what I did was I just googled it, how much did the AFR gauge use and the wideband O2 sensor use, and then I figured out what it was and just went like a 1 or 2 amps above it. Yeah, so here's the gauge. You can take the faceplate off and change faceplates, and you could flip that number, this side over, and do the Lambedo one, which is like the different kind. It's the same thing, but it just does from like, I don't know, like it's 0.75 to 1 or something like that, or 1.2 something. Or anyways, so here's the gauge. It comes with a mount thing. I'm not too sure. I think it's kind of car related. So basically this goes on the gauge like this, right? And then you have your little back thing right there, and then you put your nuts on there. So I'm not quite sure what it's for exactly, because I think it's like to hold it for like a car gauge holder, I don't know. Anyways, I just would bolt it through this, and then I just snuck it in these little zip ties right here. Here's the plug. So here's the power plug right here. There's 2 other wires to it, but we only use the negative and positive for that. So I have that wire, it's coming all the way down here, and that's where I got this plug on it right there. I got to put some black tape on the end of that connection, and I'm going to roll that up because I want to use this on future bikes, and I don't want to have a super short cable to have to work with. Anyway, so here's my O2 sensor. I did mess up on the, here, hold on, let me get a light for you guys so I can show you guys really good. Okay, let's see here. Okay, anyway, so here's my O2 sensor. So I don't know what happened. Well, I messed up basically. But when I welded it in, I welded it like 10 degrees pointed down instead of 10 degrees pointed up. I think I got the fitment wrong. I mean, I drew a permanent marker line on here, and that was going to be my straight up and down, but somehow I messed it up. So not a big deal. I mean, honestly, once I'm done tuning, I'm just going to take it out. So, and I'll probably order a new pipe, just because this one, it got messed up a couple times. When I first got the pipe, it didn't fit right, and so I had cut this to the angle I wanted to kick it out, to kick it away, and it ended up just not working out right. So I had a spacer in there, and I had like 3 or 4 crush gaskets in there. So now I'm down to 3 crush gaskets. I'm just going to keep it as that, and leave it. So here we go. Here's the wire harness. So I upgraded the speedometer. Well, I didn't upgrade it. So I had issues with the stock speedometer giving me a like really sporadic second number. So let's say I was going 30, like the 32 would be like 2 3 4 5 2 3 4 4, like just go non-stop, and just would never settle, so you could never really tell exactly what speed you were at. So I was up in here, and I found the ignition wires. Right here's the ignition plug that goes right to the ignition. Let me get a little spotlight here. Let's get in there. All right, anyways, so here's your key ignition right there, and that wire goes down to here into a plug. Now there's 4 wires on this plug. 2 of the wires do nothing. The other two wires, you got, see the red one is the hot coming in, right? Hold on, let me lift it up so you can see it. So the red one is the hot coming in, and the black one is the power going out when turn key on, and it runs your 12 volts. So basically I did a little splice to that. I used a little bit of that liquid black tape on the connection, and it's soldered in too. So I'm gonna take this piece, well I already soldered this piece in it. That was just kind of a dummy piece I stuck in there. The ground, I'm grabbing the ground from the old blinker light ground, because these new ones, I'm running just the ground here, and then the left and right turn signal. And I have a second ground too, that second ground plug on there. I'm gonna do my LED lights that I have a remote for it and everything. I'm just gonna set that in. I just wanted to be able to turn the key on and it work, turn the key off and it'd be off. That way it's not on the whole time, because before, when the AFR gauge was on, I would have to unplug it, and it just kind of becomes a pain. So it's funny, this brown wire here, this brown wire has 7 volts. I'm not sure. It's one I've never used. It was just one stray sitting in there from the beginning. Anyways, when I got my new speedometer, the connections. So first I was gonna unplug it from this right here and switch the speedometers that way, but I couldn't get this one out, and I looked closely. They glued this connection in. So the speedometer wires has a hot. So you know that random gray wire everybody talks about, right? What's that gray wire? What's that gray wire? Where is it at here? Here it is, right there. Okay, you see that gray wire right there? So that gray wire, I broke the thing off, had 12 volts on my other one. So on my other speedometer, this would run 12 volts. So I was gonna run it off that, and I was all excited. And then when I waited to do it, installed my new speedometer, didn't even think about it. And then the other day I pulled it out when I got the AFR gauge, getting it all set up. I pulled this out and checked the voltage, and this now is 5 volts. So I checked every single line coming from the speedo, and they're all 5 volts. So it's weird. You do have the power coming in, but the power coming in is constant or something, I don't know. Anyways, I didn't want to mess with the speedo. This power right here, I think, is the main power. Basically powers everything, and I believe that the power runs from this fuse. You know how you guys have, there's a fuse right there? Yeah, right there. So I believe that this power cord coming off your battery is the main, and then the other power cord. So this one, this fused connection right here, powers all the electronics on the bike, right? It's a 15 amp fuse. And then that's the plug here, and then that's the negative for that, for all this stuff, wire harness up there. The battery power, the big cord, that's gonna go right to your solenoid for starting your battery. Or for starting your motor or whatever. So it's like gonna be a direct connect. And I believe this ground line right here, it's hard to see because my motor's painted black, but this ground line, hold on, this ground line right here, that ground line is the ground line that's connected here. So you have a plug for that. So anyways, so I'm going to get my solder connection plug right here. So this is the key on hot. Right here, that yellow nub, that's the key on hot, and that's the one I soldered over here. It is right here. Yeah, so here's my little connection. So there's the key on nub. This is my little fuse. When Radio Shack closed, I bought like all their electronics for like 200 bucks. I literally have a box of like plugs, fuses, lights, LEDs, all kinds of cool stuff. So I just use that, you know. That's where I got these little connectors right here. And I know everybody hates on them, but I didn't have any shielded connectors there, and that was going to be the easiest thing, and I liked the fact that these were kind of shielded, so I was down with that. Anyways, I kept the stock plug. I got my green heat shrink tubing right there, so I'm gonna basically pull that over and heat shrink it onto that, and then this ground plug will be able to plug into my spare blinker ground that stays grounded, I mean, obviously all the time. So plug that in there, and then this plug will go up into there, and I'll plug for my hot, and it's fused, and then this plug right here will be this AFR gauge, this plug. That way I can disconnect this you know what I mean, and I have the whole length of cable. So this stays plugged in, and that's going to give power to it when the key is turned on. I'm going to roll this wire up real nice and just kind of tuck it in here. So the next connection on the gauge, so yeah, so the power connection is going to be the upper, like if you're holding it backwards, it's going to be the upper right. It's that smaller one. That's your power. And then the other side, that's going to be your wideband O2 sensor connection, and that is connected by this guy right here. So here's your wideband O2 sensor plug, right? And then there's a bunch of cable, and I'm just going to leave it. I mean, it was designed for a car, so you could run it all the way to the back. I don't feel like cutting anything. And then here's your connector here. I did put some black tape around the connector just so it wasn't bare wire right here. And anyways, that goes into the left side of the gauge. It's super simple. I'm gonna mock it up right now and put it in. I'll just kind of show you how it works. That way you guys can get an eye on doing it. But originally I just had the power cable connected to the battery with that little fuse connection that I made. And you really don't even need the fuse connection. Honestly, you could just connect the negative and positive straight to the battery and you'd be fine to go if you want to do what you need to do. Of all my tuning too, it came down to I need a new needle. The needle that I have is rich on the 1/4 like half throttle, and everything I do. So if I get the bog to go away, basically it loses power. So it doesn't have. It still runs great, you know what I mean? But it just doesn't have that top end. It doesn't have that like pull power that it has when I have it tuned like perfectly that it is right now. So, but when I have it tuned perfectly, that freaking bog in the middle right there from like 1/4 to half is horrible. So you can mitigate it by like basically just rolling on the throttle just a little bit, whoa, and then just going boom right to like half throttle, 3/4 throttle, and it jets, takes off, no problem. It goes super fast. So I'm happy. I actually got 63 miles an hour, well 62.9, but I'm saying 63 miles an hour with a 16 tooth front sprocket. So I'm kind of stoked on that. The fastest I was able to go with the 16 tooth before, you know, with my lightly tuned everything, was about 58.5 or something like that. So it's kind of neat because the 17 tooth sprocket, I wasn't able to get past 60. I could just do 60 and that was it. So no matter how hard I tried. So the wideband O2 sensor definitely helps of the ease of tuning because you kind of know where you're at. And it just makes things so much easier. So I ended up when I first got it, I installed it, I tested it around. My idle was super rich. Pilot Jet 38, too much for it for the flat slide PWK carburetor. This is I got a bunch of carburetors. So this is the one I'm running now. This is the 24 PWK. This is my just aluminum looking one, and I got my little my intake tube or whatever that kind of kicks it up out. Those little zip ties right there hanging, just I've lost a couple times, the tube fell off, so I put those zip ties there for like a safety reason, that way I won't lose it. Anyways, got this intake right here. This isn't the stock intake, this actually is an intake. It's a 26mm intake. So, and I got that little adjust thing where you can 360 it. I'm starting to think this bend is too steep. You know, it's pretty much like the stock intake, except it's 26mm rather than 22. But with the way that this is set up, the forks already kind of bump that radiator hose for the intake. So because they already bumped that radiator hose for the intake, it's kind of like I like being able to turn all the way each way. I cut the steering locks too, so I got more turning on this. Anyways, so here's the O2 sensor, the way I got it set up. So I basically got it in the bung there, pointed the wrong way down, right? And then I have it coming up here, and it's just zip tied right there to the starter. And then, you know, I plug it in and use it that way. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm digging it. Oh, we have the lights set. I'll show you guys the lights later. So let me mock it all up for you and show you how it works and stuff. That way you guys can get a better idea on it. Alright, I'm back. So I connected it. So this plug right here is just, I already had it soldered on there. I left it. I gotta get some more black tape and I'll retape it all up and make it look nice. So that's just the connection for the power for the AFR gauge, for the negative and positive. So anyways, my positive line is fused, and I believe that's I think it's a 5 amp fuse, 5 or 4. I know that, or maybe a 3. It might even be a 3. I don't want to take it apart right now. I can't do it. I'll check it for you guys, and just because it's really hard to hold the camera. I don't have that my little head thing. Anyways, so I got my splice connector soldered in. I used liquid electrical tape all the way around it, so it's nice and sealed up. Don't have to worry about water intrusion. all of my connections are all dielectric greased. So each single connection is just caked with dielectric grease. And I can roll my thing back. I'm gonna tuck it all in nice. So anyways, so that's my positive. Then my ground right here, I got a nice heat shrink tubing one, and then a quick connect. That way everything is disconnectable. That was my goal, is to be able to make it disconnectable. So I got that. There's your power running all the way up here, and I tucked in here. This is just a ghetto, because this is not gonna stay in the bike. Once I get the bike tuned, I'm not gonna leave it on here. So I'm gonna end up doing it on all of my bikes, going through each one that's carbureted and tuning it perfect. You know, I run PWK carburetors on all of our pit bikes or whatever. That's this one right here too. Same one. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of dark. PWK. Here. Get the light. Okay. Anyway, 24 millimeters. So I had 26s on all the bikes, but after doing a bunch of research, you get the more velocity with 24, and I think they're good. Maybe they might start getting worse when I get to the top end, because I got the Z40 cam in this one. The Z40 cam just wake this bike up. I painted some of the covers. I had that cover blue, but it didn't look as good as black does. So anyways, we got the AFR gauge. She's plugged in, or the wideband's plugged in, right? So that's the power there. The cord's just flopping on the ground here, just rolled up. I'm gonna roll it up real nice and tuck it up somewhere, you know, up in here out of the way where it's not visible, but it's there, you know, and it'll be that way when I go to do something, when I want to use it on something else, it's not going to be an issue, because I could just, all I have to do is, you know, unplug it and use it. Okay, so here we go. So here's the gauge. Those are plugged in, so the AFR, the power's plugged in, and the wideband sensor's plugged in. So you turn the key on, boom, it goes on. So what it's going to do is go through these numbers. It's going to give you a US1, a POO, and then 14.4. So 14.4 right now, it's heating up the element. As the element heats up, it's gonna go all the way down. See, there it goes. Okay, so that's super lean, right? If I was to start the bike now, you know, you'd be able to see it. It's late at night, so I don't want to start it up. But yeah, so that's basically how you connect it. Super simple, a negative and positive wire and an O2 sensor. The hardest part is the bung. And I literally made like a part, like I have tons of carburetors. I buy lots of these carburetors. I literally made the bung. Here's the carburetor I typically run in this bike. And this is just a PWK. It was actually the black and red one that you get on Amazon, but I put this float bowl on it from a 28 millimeter that I got for that bike, because that one already has a 28 PWK, but I just wanted this float bowl so bad, and this little blue dial. Man, I wish they would have made it in 24 with the body, because the one that this came off of was like a Caheen clone. I don't know, these are kind of like generic, but anyways, they work good. I like it. Even got the little blue thing right there. Yeah, so this is the one that I was running on this bike a while back, and then let me turn my bike off here. And then when I went to go do the wideband, I had set this one all up the way I wanted to and put that one in and check that one. So then after using the wideband, I knew that my pilot was rich and my wide open was lean. So this one's got a 120. I think it's a 115 drilled out to a 120. I think I have one 120 of these. It's in that bike. I don't know. I gotta look and see, but I'm pretty sure I got a bunch of jets. I got tons of jets actually for all the carburetors. Let's see here. Where's my jets at? Here they are. Anyways, I got all the jets. So I ordered some needles. I basically figured out what I have. All these needles right here are pretty much all the stock needles, and they're all the same taper and diameter. They're all 2.6 millimeters on the widest part, which is like where the clip goes, down to the taper. It goes, you know, smaller. Anyways, no bueno, doesn't work for what I have. But yeah, these are 120s, 115, 110, 105, 100, and then lower than that, this is 125. No, these are 125, 130, 135, 140, and then all the pilots that I have. I stay away from these carburetors right here. This is the Makuni, you know, the one everybody talks about, the VM22. The problem is that the freaking pilot jets on these things are almost impossible to get. they have a couple different sizes, and believe it or not, the 30 mil takes a different size pilot than this 26. So it's actually skinnier. They might work. I can show you an example of them. Let me see if I got it here. Okay, so oh, that's not it. Yeah, it's hard to see. Anyways, it's a super skinny one. This part of the pilot. Here it is, right here. Okay, so this is what it takes. But there's two iterations of it. So this one, so if you measure this like little motion tube thing, and then the diameter of it, it's different than the other one. So I think this one came out of my bigger one, which my 30 mil Makuni one. Yeah, I'm not seeing the one. Anyways, there's real slim pickings for the jets unless you want to drill them out. I do have the Harbor Freight micro drill set. I could do it if I wanted to, but I just like my flat slides. So I'm just so excited. Once I get these needles from Amazon, I'm hoping this is really going to fix that problem, because like I said, it runs awesome. Full throttle, 3/4 full throttle, you know what I mean? Half all the way to full throttle is amazing, you know, and 1/4, like 0 to 1/4 throttle is perfect. It's not a big deal at all. Big snorts. Roof. Anyways, it's perfect. So it's just that 1/4 to half bog, you know. So it's like you can go good here, and then just right there, if you hold it right there, it's like super rich on the meter. So it's the taper of the needle. Basically, the needle needs to be fatter, and then before it tapers, it needs to be that longer before it tapers. These ones are skinny, like 2.5, and then they go down short distance, and then you got your taper at 3 degrees down to a point. I had one needle that's a little bit fatter, but basically all my needles are 2.6 millimeters thickness right after the 3 clips, and it goes down to like the actual size of the needle. So anyways, guys, I thought I'd give you a better in-depth video on how this gauge works. I did buy a Wideband O2 sensor. Yeah, see, this is awesome. I'm digging this. The key turn on and off, it's amazing. Watch the sensor heat up. Take a second here. There it goes. Boom, she's ready to go. So yeah, the gauge, let's see, the sensor that originally came with it was junk. It didn't work right at all. It would work for a couple seconds and then go off. So I was like, you know what, I already read the reviews, you know, this is the one I bought. This is for like a Ford F-150 and a bunch of other cars. It's for a bunch of vehicles. It was like $105. I know it was expensive. I probably could order it cheap on Amazon, but that day that I was working on my bike, I was like, I just wanted to get it running. So this does have a 1-year warranty through O'Reilly's. So I mean, if anything happens, I'll be able to take it out and replace it. So I'm not going to leave it in. My plan is next week when I get those needles, I'm going to install them, and then I'm going to basically, I'm pretty confident it's going to be perfect, and that's going to be it. And pretty confident that it'll be perfect, and I'll be able to just take it off, and then that's when I'm going to order a pack of bungs and start going with my daughter's 2 pit bikes, the RFC X15 right here, and then her the Apollo Z20 Max. I'm going to do cams for these too. The cam thing was pretty cool. Like, all you have to do is just knock the back bearing out just a touch. So like, don't put it all the way in. So what I would advise is when you go to swap the bearings, as you're putting the old bearing on the new cam, just don't tap it down all the way. You could even stick a feeler gauge in there and stop it out at that feeler gauge. 16 thousandths is what I did. So okay, here's the jets right here. So these are PWK. Let's see, I'll read it here. Okay, so it's a PWK for PWK 28, 24, and 30, and we have N68, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. I think I'm gonna need J. I don't know. I gotta look and see this. So I want to say J's the skinniest, and then A's the fattest. So hopefully I can get it all figured out. Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. The only sucky part about these is they're not prime. January 26th. I should have ordered it yesterday. I would have got it 25th, but hey, whatever. All right, peace out, guys.